Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Governing Board workshop for February 9th, and I'm the Governing Board President, Tim Hurley, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. If you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we do have a quorum. We've got 8 directors here. I do have to announce that Director Stenenbein resigned this week due to health issues, and we're not going to replace him. We'll just go with the highest ballot winner in the upcoming election, okay? First order of business is the approval of the January 12th minutes. Are there any changes or corrections? Okay. Seeing none, they will stand as written. We have a staff report. Mr. James Riley, goes by Riley.
Thank you, President Hurley, members of the board, and it's nice to see so many people here today as well. It's nice to see them getting involved. I'm going to be talking about CC&Rs and membership, quick update on those. I'm going to start with the CC&R department, and I don't have a... There we go. What I did with the CC&R department, I first pulled up what have we done in the first part of the fiscal year, and it was a pretty big chart and a lot of big numbers. So I thought what I would do for simplicity is to break it down bear with me, please. Thank you. Oh, went through that time. On an average monthly basis, we're looking at like 17 building projects. We got a lot of homes that are selling, and people kind of want to put their own thumbprint on their new home, if you will, and they're looking at everything from golf cart garages to gazebos, things of that nature. And we have about 25 email questions that come into us on a monthly basis. 65 address changes, that's predicated by the number of homes that sell. And then 110 violations and courtesy letters go out every month. We have 126 walk-ins, so we're very busy, and especially this time of year with all the snowbirds back. And then, of course, we do 172 property visits. Again, that's depending on how many violations we have at the current time. And 208 incoming phone calls, and that's important because people are calling us, can I do this, can I do that to my property? And we're a great place to start instead of building something that down the road you find out wasn't applicable for your area. Okay. I don't know what happened to my clicker here. I apologize. Yeah, thank you. Current violations and stages. The one on the left shows you the violations, what we're dealing with. Majority of what we tend to have is lawn issues, if you will, weeds, non-trim bushes, trees, and so forth. And then, of course, we have a whole gamut of everything from underage, RV parking, nuisances, things of that nature. The chart on the right is what I'm quite proud of. In fact, most of our violations are taken care of in stage 1, is within 21 days, if you will. A few carry over into stage 2. And then when you look at 3, 4, and 5 stages, those are homes that are possibly in a HUD situation. They've gone into foreclosure, things of that nature. And they do take a little bit longer to rectify. Some of the things that we've achieved this year. We developed new operational procedures to save time. For example, when we go out on our investigations, we plot them through an app that allows us to do it the most efficient way, save gas, time, money. And then, of course, we've streamlined the architectural review. So in other words, we can follow and track anything that's being built out there that they've come to see us and talk to us about. We also advanced smart webs. This is our tracking system. Very great. It's a great system. but we've taken advantage of some new things that they've put on that system, and it makes us much more efficient, and fortunately that was at no cost. And we've developed new case solutions by working with other agencies. This is important. We've made some really good inroads with all of these departments, especially Maricopa County Code. They work with us hand in hand on issues that we have regarding building and things of that nature. Unfortunately, we do also have to work with the Adult Protective Services, but great organizations, and the more that we're connected with them, the better things go. And membership, I'm going to start off. I've got some great news in membership. APFs are up every month from last year, excluding September. And I've talked to some of my real estate friends, and this trend seems to be continuing as we're seeing second and even third offers on homes right now. So it's a good time to be selling your house, but hopefully this trend will continue. As you can see, we've got a couple of them there that have exceeded even the last 4 years. So we're on a good streak as far as APFs are concerned. Currently, we have 574, which is just shy of $3 million in APFs. This is just to show you how busy we are up in membership. Our walk-in traffics, we've had 16,000 plus walk-in members, and that has generated close to $13 million. So the 7 people that are up front are working diligently and doing a very good job. Our web portal, the numbers have gone up there, about 3,000 web portal payments. And I think as we see people getting a little bit more into technology, we're seeing more people tending to go there. And that brought in just about $1.5 million. And then again, the APF's almost $3 million. This is our billing cycle, and it has a direct correlation with the APFs. And we just sent out our largest billing cycle, which went out the 6th of this month. So it's just kind of a neat thing to look at. You can kind of see the trends when people purchase homes, and of course when we have to bill them. Our real estate assistance program, our REDS program, this is unique in the fact that when a house transfers title, typically it gets sold by a realtor, goes to a title company. This is where we have to look for things that don't fall into a normal home sale, be it a quitclaim deed, be it an inheritance, or possibly inheritance through a trust. And what we have to do is go out and take a look at those, because they are coded differently by the county when they are recorded. And it's amazing how much money was out there that we weren't collecting right away. So what we do is we look at this on a daily basis, and we look for those items that are coded differently. And we started this in 2020 and thought, well, we'll see those numbers go down as we catch up with these. And ironically, they have gone up. 15, 20 years ago, the trend of getting a family trust was really kind of a new thing, and everybody was looking at it. And those are kind of coming to fruition now, where they're getting passed on to other generations. And this is a great program. It's brought in over $2 million in the last 4 years. So we will continue this, and it's beneficial for both the community and the homeowner themselves, actually. And hot topics. Yes, our fuzzy little friends. Like them, we're always looking for a hole in the fence, if you will. And one of the things we've been dealing with a lot lately is age restriction. As we all know, in the Arizona Fair Housing Act, along with our preamble and in our bylaws, every unit needs to be occupied by someone 55 plus. And no one under the age of 19 should be residing in a unit more than 90 days. We keep a very close eye on this, and I'd like you to kind of look at the very far right column there. The interesting thing is the people that are moving in are getting younger. That number, that is, the average right now is 67. 5 years ago, that was 72 to 75. So we are seeing some younger folks moving in. We pay very close attention to this. And as you can see here, the age range 55 to 64, that's the number that seems to be increasing the most. We're having people come in and move into their retirement home earlier in their life. And of course, that has a correlation with the 45 to 54. Most of the time, that is a spouse that is, under 55. Currently, the people that are under 55, that accounts for 3% of the people living here in Sun City West. We keep a very close eye on that. As many of you may know, when it comes to planned communities of 55 and over, there's what's called an 80-20 rule. If we would ever go over 20%, we could be in jeopardy of losing that ability. So, but we keep a very close eye on it. And like I say, right now, we're sitting very well at 3%. Couple of things that we're seeing, and I encourage people, if you do see something that doesn't seem quite right age-wise, give us a call. Let us know about it, because we are seeing an increase in the reporting of age violations, but we're also seeing, and when we go to check these out, adult children, adult grandchildren moving in with mom or dad or grandpa or grandma, which is legit if they're over 19, but we like to be aware of it. We also have, I know the cost of daycare has gone up considerably, and we have a lot of grandparents that will take care of the kids during the day while mom and dad are at work. That, again, is perfectly fine unless it creates some type of a nuisance in the neighborhood. And again, we're happy to check those out because we have found a couple of pay daycares, if you will, and that's not permitted. And then, of course, we have individuals that inherit homes that aren't quite 55, and they are moving in, and of course, we have to deal with that as well. And individuals that are under 55 purchasing homes, we're seeing some of that, but they are taking care of mom or grandma or something like that. So we like to be aware of that scenario as well, because sometimes grandma will have to go into a home and then they're not old enough to live there. So if you see anything, please say something. President Hurley, would it be okay if I move to the next agenda item?
Yes, please.
Thank you. House Bill 2470, this is just a quick update. This is the House bill that basically we have to vote on. Can we maintain control of the roads because they are county owned and maintained? What this is basically saying, my apologies, that didn't get changed. This is, but 2298 is what we are going to be voting on. And this doesn't extend our abilities to do anything. All it does is allow us to stay status quo when it comes to RV parking, be it any type of boats, trailers, modified buses, things of that nature. And we're very good at that. If we don't get a yes vote, we will no longer have that ability, and it'll fall back on the county. I've spoken to Captain Stutzman over at District 3. Great organization, they do wonderful work, but I think when it comes to parking, they've got more pressing things to be doing, and I'm afraid that this could take a back seat as far as parking is concerned. And it's something we react on right away. And I don't want this to get too confusing, because I'm gonna tell you about something that could possibly happen. We need to vote in March on the parking, so please vote yes if you want us to maintain status quo. But this is a House bill that is proposed, and it's 2470. This is a gentleman named Corey McGarr out of District 17. He's a representative, and he wants to essentially abolish any enforcement by any HOA, planned community, CC&Rs, and so forth. We're going to keep a very close eye on this. It's March 15th, I believe, is the date that I will have more information regarding this House bill, because it may, in fact, not proceed in going to a vote. But as of March 15th, I will know either way, and if that does come to fruition, I will put out a call to action along with PORA, and hopefully get some type of a letter campaign going and notifying the representatives that are in our area. That's all I have.
Okay, does the board have any questions for Riley? Director Schlemmer?
Thank you, Chairman Hurley. Thank you for the presentation. And I do have a question. I'm going to go back to the early part of your presentation on how people pay their membership fees. If you know, what is the difference in the transaction cost to us for a customer who walks in versus mailing in versus paying on the web portal?
I would have to refer you to accounting on that particular question. I don't know that off the top of my head. Because we have a combination of people paying with debit cards, credit cards. We have a lot of folks that come in and it's their yearly excursion, if you will.
Okay.
Get dressed up and come in and actually write a check. And our friends from the north, they tend to pay in cash, depending on the value of the dollar.
Okay.
I could speak to the cost of the processing fee on the credit card. That would be roughly 3% if they pay with a credit card. If it's paid via e-check, it's a $1 processing fee.
Yep.
And then a physical check, I don't know, how much do we pay per, I don't know exactly per check. It's a very, very small amount of money in terms of processing that transaction.
Okay.
But, personnel-wise, if someone comes in the building, obviously, we have to have somebody to serve them.
Right.
Versus someone paying on the portal. So you got, payroll costs and things like that associated with
I'm assuming on the
in-person
portal,
payments.
I'm assuming on the portal that most of those are either debit card or credit card, and probably more credit card than debit card, but.
And now e-checks, which
And
we have.
e-checks as
Yes.
well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Riley? Okay, thank you, Riley.
Thank you.
Moving on to 4.02, BNF policy recommendation discussion. Director Rhodes?
Excuse me, Tim, this is Christine Novello. I'm
Yes,
sorry to-
Christine, I'm sorry.
I see a notice, a comment or a question in YouTube chat for Secretary Williams.
Well, sure, go ahead.
The first one is from Christine. Says, "Good morning, fellow resident and owners. I'm Christine Novello, Governing Board Director. Like you, I am participating online this morning as I am ill." Next one is from Mystical Michelle. Michelle Brunner, 127597. Please do introduce the board for those of us online. Christine Novello again, if you would like to comment or ask a question, Secretary Williams will read your comment. Please include your rec card number and your comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
See if we got any more
Director
down,
Vines?
any more down there.
Sure, introduce yourself.
Director Vines, 123774.
Jack Leary, 128260.
Kay Williams, 135061.
Tim Hurley?
Wynn, General Manager.
Dick Rhodes.
Good morning, Alan Schlemmer, 137012.
Terry Hammond, 108533.
All right. Director Rhodes?
We do have two additional.
Oh, okay.
Gary Bach, 135435. Does each HOA have a vote separately on parking? If so, then one block could allow parking and the next block would not allow parking. And then another comment from him, based on majority of people that actually vote, or does it need to be a majority of all resident members?
We'll ask Riley to answer that.
Being a planned community, we are able to take a vote of all members. There's very few HOAs here that actually have county roads running through them. For example, I'll use the ones behind Safeway, for example. They actually own their parking lots, the streets that run between their condominiums. So they can, again, maintain control of that. It would strictly be the county road that maybe encapsulates that particular HOA. And if there are roads that run through an HOA, again, we would enforce that. So yes, and then the second question is, yes, we would need to have the majority vote as a yes to, and also reach the quorum, if you will, which I believe is 1,000 people.
A majority of the people who vote. not a majority of all of our residents, correct?
Correct, the majority of the people that vote.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
So please vote.
All right. Long awaited, Director Rhodes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. The policy that we have in question is a finance policy. It's a preparation of the annual financial plan, and it's FI 15. We originally scheduled this for September of last year and intentionally pulled it back because we wanted to consider the possibility of using a financial index as helping us in our budgetary process. So I commissioned a working group that was composed of 5 people. It was Governing Board Director Christine Novella was the advisor to it. It was Dwayne Parsons, Ray Davis, Cliff Swan, our CFO, and Terry from Wood from the CFO office. There's 2 parts to this, one of which is the results of the working group, and the working group worked very diligently, and they conducted multiple public meetings trying to find a financial index that would help us in our budget process. And they went through any number of iterations and trial and errors and came up with the idea that none of them really fit the uniqueness of Sun City West, that our expenses don't fit in with the CPI or any of the standard financial index, the combination that are used in computing that. So their final report was, we want to continue to use kind of the methodology that we're using right now. Now, the second part of that, and this does have changes that we're proposing in FY15, and it's the inclusion of 4 subparagraphs, 6.3, 6.31, 0.32, and 0.33, and it's basically establishing the reserve allocation fund as a part of the budget process. And this is actually the wording that was used by our independent auditor that came in and worked with us on this. So the verbiage that is in this is actually taken from the independent auditor. And I'll go ahead and read that. 6.1 is the general manager shall recommend an estimated reserve fund allocation. 6.31 is the estimated reserve fund allocation will be established as a percentage of the member and associate member monthly revenue. 6.32 is the estimated reserve fund allocation is a component of the operating cash flow and included in the calculation of the annual reserve fund transfer. And then 6.33 is the estimated reserve fund allocation will be initially authorized as part of the budgeting process and ratified as part of the annual dues. So in kind of in summary, we looked at FY15, felt that none of the financial indexes that we studied would work for us, and felt that the reserve fund allocation would be a more transparent method of helping us when we identify the costs and all for our annual budget. I don't know if, Cliff, if you want to add anything to that at all? No?
No, pretty good. Couple things. Gary Bozak instead of Dwayne Parsons was on that group.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I apologize for that. Yeah.
Just give credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
And then I guess the only other thing I would say is 2 main points here, maybe 3. One, as far as the indexes go, we didn't want to tie ourselves down to one index. Okay, so that was and we use all of the indexes that are out there to apply to our different structures of expense. So that's not one. And that was the findings, as well as we feel like going through the budget process line item by line item is a struggle that needs to take place. You know, the struggle is needed to go through that in that process in terms of indexing. Two, this isn't changing how we calculate what goes into our reserve fund in any way, shape, or form. All we're doing, to Dick's point, is we're being as transparent as we can about what we're going to put into that reserve fund and how much of our operating income is going to go in there. All right. So we just want to call that out on the financial statement, and we want to budget that as well. So everybody knows, as part of the budget, this is what we're estimating to go into the reserve fund. Okay. So nothing is changing with the reserve fund calculation. We're doing it as we always have. We're just calling it out.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I do want to apologize to Gary. I'm sorry, Gary. That was inadvertent. Gary is a very valuable member of our Budget and Finance Committee, as is Dwayne Parsons, but it was Gary Bosak that was on
He can take
the,
it.
was on the, I know he can take it, but I wanted to do that.
All right,
Fall on your sword, Gary. Thank you.
all right. Are there any comments or questions on this issue? No. Do I have consensus to move this to the governing board for a vote? Yes. Okay. Karen, we're going to move this to the governing board meeting. All right, 4.03, fiscal year 2024-25, proposed capital budget, February revisions.
Thank you, President Hurley. Good morning, Governing Board. Good morning, audience. I'm happy to be here this morning to report any changes, implementation to the proposed capital budget for fiscal year 24-25. We do have changes. Our categories that we share on the screen here and the directors have in their packets is a continuation of the same document each and every month. This is the same document that also goes in front of each committee each month and gives us an opportunity to see month by month the project planning process. Any increases in cost, any new line items, any deletions, and any cost reductions. Starting off in the category of new, which is our tan area on the screen, you will see that our first change is the tractor and backhoe. For facilities maintenance, it has been reduced to $55,000. I'll discuss that a little bit more in my presentation portion of this. Moving down, the Metal Shop Climate Tech HVAC control system had an increase in cost to $36,135 due to bids being received. The pickleball monitor station at Palm Ridge had a $5,000 increase to $30,000 just to make sure that we had enough for infrastructure to set that in place, electrical connections, and make sure it's operational appropriately. We had 3 new additions per the general manager. General manager had an overwhelming request from our veterans community and asked, why do we not have flagpoles at all of our golf centers? So the general manager is asked to place Desert Trails, Echo Mesa, and Trail Ridge into the budget for Pro Shop flagpoles at $9,013 apiece. And that completes all changes for February in the new category. Moving on to repair and replacement items in the budget. Just a reminder for repair and replacement items, these are items that are allocated in our asset management tool and have a useful life. In this categories, the first change is a new addition line item called the NEC phone system. In the next portion of my presentation, I will talk about that in a little bit more detail. But simply, this is an infrastructural opportunity to change components of our phone system and reduce our costs due to a monthly service fee. And so $130,000 has been added to the budget. Landscaping vehicles had a reduction in cost to $90,989. The line item for admin copier machines has been removed from the budget, so you'll see a $0 amount there. This function is, we found an efficiency, and we are purchasing those copying machines right now out of our allowance category in the FY 23-24 budget. Moving on to landscape green rollers. This is Another area of change, a reduction in green rollers and equipment. So the price was reduced to $15,034. These are blue areas, are all reserve study areas that myself or other departments manage. And I'm going to go through areas that Todd manages in this portion of the presentation for any changes. In the reserve study or repair and replacement items for golf, we had a reduction in pieces for the golf maintenance equipments from 23 pieces to 19, but an overall evaluation and bidding process from Toro, equipment prices are up, so this line item has gone up to $992,838. Moving down to Deer Valley Furniture and patio furniture, it was just a miss on our part. Golf Ops did not originally recognize the additional patio that was built a couple years ago at Deer Valley, so $5,000 additional for furniture was included. And those are the only changes to repair and replacement items in the golf categories. And the final category is allowances. No changes for the month of February, $420,000 in the general allowance fund. Any questions?
Any questions from directors on this part of his presentation? No, go ahead, Carl.
Thank you. February also is our last opportunity to talk about items 50,000 and greater. Beginning in March and April, we'll be reducing this list to repeating the items conversations for items 100,000 and greater. This helps us in our project planning process to start narrowing down the budget and get it more accurate to the next component, which is the operating portion to be included in the full annual financial plan. So items over $50,000 starting in new. We have the Sports Pavilion Lizard Acres Bar Room and renovation and equipment. A quick reminder is that this presentation has also been given to properties and BNF as of this week. The Sports Pavilion Lizard Acres Bar Room and renovation is for a 40-foot linear foot of new bar and top, room improvements, static seating for 160 to 180 persons, maintains Wii bowling, darts, other programmed items that we do like card playing and mahjong during the early parts of the day, relocates some of our existing equipment, includes the cost for some new equipment, and per architectural and engineer planning, modifications to plumbing and electrical per Maricopa County guidelines. Moving over to the library expansion renovation, we are asking for $100,000 for interior and exterior renovation, architectural and engineering documents. If the governing board proposes this project to move forward for future year planning, the $100,000 is available funds as architectural and engineering design costs are needed. So this is not a $100,000 spend guaranteed. It would be wise expenditures based on the needs to advance project information. The ultimate goal is to provide a 60% plan so that bidding vendors can provide us the cost for a future year project. Moving on to the Beardsley Park iron fence with gates, $57,500. Again, this is an enclosure, 4-foot iron fence with gates and maintenance access points to help offset labor for setting up the yearly plastic snow fence and iron posts, and helps events in controlling park events and makes the park more secure and have better access being controlled through those access points. The R.H. Johnson tractor with backhoe for $55,000. Facilities maintenance equipment this is the picture as seen. It is $55,000 directly quoted from Kubota dealer versus higher competitor pricing. So we've had a reduction from the $75,000 previous month discussions to $55,000. We expect a useful life of 20 years. It helps with rapid response time, reducing facility time closure timeframes. Facilities maintenance does do about an average of 10 times a year in rentals, and sometimes that incurs multiple days of rental costs, approximately $400 per day. Rental equipment is not always available. This helps having this in our wheelhouse, and it reduces the need for subcontractors. Kuntz Tennis Facility renovation and court conversion, design and architectural documents. This is a similar request for funds, $50,000, as the library was requested. No particular amount of this $50,000 will be spent at one time, but this does allow our architectural and engineering team to make a redevelopment plan for future costing for the Kuntz Tennis Facility. Over this week at the Properties and BNF Committee meetings, I kind of landed an icebreaker, the elephant in the room, if you will. We've heard a lot of discussion from our community, both pickleball and tennis, on the subject matter of sharing Kuntz courts for multi-purpose play, tennis and pickleball. Pickleball has made it very clear that they are not interested in this facility being used in that manner. So general manager and staff have had long discussions on this, and we are proposing that in March I will have a new presentation piece for you showing that our plans for renovation would be asking for renovating to be back to tennis, 6 tennis courts at the Kuntz facility, and that's what the $50,000 funds would be used for. Any other discussions for future year projects of helping expand pickleball in our community would be future year discussions. There are no funds being asked for that today. But again, the icebreaker was that future year discussions at this point, if pickleball needed to be added, it would most likely be considered at the R.H. Johnson Tennis Facility. Moving along to, that completes our new categories. The next section is repair and replacement items. The Kuntz outfield fence replacement for $495,000. The Silvercraft remodel, millwork and countertops for $375,000. Just a reminder that at the bottom of this presentation, you see that it has LVT flooring, $23,850. That's another repair and replacement item in addition to the $375,000. And if the remodel were to be approved by the governing board, grid ceiling and sprinkler heads need to be replaced in that room for an additional $38,000. Palm Ridge outdoor pool deck resurface replacement for $186,266. This is a similar project to Kuntz performed 3 years ago and R.H. Johnson in this last fiscal year, replacing our concrete decks with rubberized flooring. Palm Ridge Activities, Aquatics Building Flat Roof Restoration, $160. I'll have a multiple set of slides on this subject matter. All roofing restorations give us the opportunity to extend our life of warranty for our roofs in lieu of having to fully replace a roof. Every time we have the opportunity to restore a roof versus fully replacing all the roofing components, it is a large savings. And the materials that are being manufactured really give us a bolstered opportunity to extending our buildings' lives. The Palm Ridge Fitness Center cardio equipment, $159,000. All of our fitness centers get their cardio equipment replaced on a 5-year scheduled basis. Palm Ridge is due. In a future slide here, you'll see we're also including strength equipment. More roof restorations at the R.H. Johnson Admin Building, extending the life of the warranty 10 years. The RCSCW NEC phone system upgrade. This is a new addition to the discussion of budget this year, introduced here in February, $130,000 for the NEC phone system technology upgrade. The picture that you see on the screen is a representation of all of the components of our NEC phone system. Some of them components in the system have an opportunity to be upgraded, removed, and replaced. And this moves the phones onto a new SD-WAN infrastructure. And this upgrade saves RCSCW $7,000 per month in lumen fees. It has a return on investment of 18 months and retains multiple pieces of the components, utilizes the existing vendor relationships we have, and takes advantage of the SD-WAN's LTE backup system. Recreational landscape vehicles, $90,989. Palm Ridge indoor pool deck surface, we've already discussed the exterior pool deck. We will be doing the same to the interior if approved, $71,648. And Palm Ridge fitness strength equipment, $63,954. The unique thing about strength equipment is on estimated on a 20-year approximate useful life. This particular equipment is 25 years old, and the manufacturer gave facilities maintenance notice that no longer are parts and pieces available to keep the equipment running. And the timing of that information was ideal with the cardio equipment, so that's why both projects are being proposed for replacement of Palm Ridge's fitness equipment and cardio. Another roof at R.H. Johnson, the fitness addition, small maintenance building, and pool storage flat roofs, extending the life 10 years for $54,781. Facilities maintenance has a pickup truck, a 2010 Chevy 2500 to be replaced for $54,573. And then our yearly recreation center's HVAC replacement program. Kuntz has 5 units for $51,584. R.H. Johnson Library has 5 units, $43,888. Other buildings at R.H. Johnson have 3 units, $38,000. And Kuntz has 1 unit for $7,900. I will make a comment on allowances. There are no changes to allowances, so I will skip over that section, and I will hand the floor over to Todd Patty to discuss golf.
Before you do, Carl, let's ask if there's any questions from the board on Carl's presentation. Okay, Director Leary.
Is the phone system a voice over IP?
I couldn't answer that.
Why not?
We're waiting for our General Services Manager, Katie O'Grady, to come to the microphone.
Yeah, it has the capability of voice over IP, but our phones that are out in the field right now, we've only got 2 or 3 just because of limitations in the distance of those. We use just E-term phones everywhere. We could if we needed to, but this plan does not include replacing all the phones. We're going to be able to reuse all the existing phones. But yes, we could. If we want to do VoIP in the future, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Carl, thank you.
Thank you.
Get an update from our Environmental Services Manager, Todd Patty.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Today, I'm just going to go over the capital budget for environmental services, which includes golf maintenance and landscape maintenance. And this is our proposed 24-25 budget. And we'll start with our equipment replacement plan for the upcoming year in golf maintenance. As Carl mentioned, we did reduce the number of units that we have for golf maintenance down to 19. And you can see the description. I won't go through all these, but these are all units that we use on a daily basis to maintain our golf courses. And you see the $992,838 in total. And then on the vehicle side, we have 13 that are scheduled for replacement, 11 light and heavy duty utility vehicles. Again, these are used every day on the golf course for the crew to get around and do their job. We have 1 pickup truck for transportation, and then we have 1 dump truck, which is shared equipment, which is used between all 7 golf courses for $357,689. And then we did, yes, sir.
What's the average age of the equipment you're replacing?
I'm going to get to that in just a minute.
Sorry.
Yep.
Trying to be a straight man.
So we delayed the purchase of 4 units this year for a total of $161,560. And this is a process that we do every year during the budget with the reserve study. We look at what's up for replacement, and if we feel that there's some units that can go out another year or more, then we'll do that. If it's out and running and it's doing a good job, if it's cutting the grass and all that, and we're not putting a lot of money into it, we'll push it out another year, and then we'll evaluate it that next year, and it could go out a year or two. So just because it's on the oh, that's okay. So just because it's on the reserve study doesn't mean we're going to replace it. So we look at each and every piece of equipment during this time. So total equipment replacement is 1.3 million, or if you break that out to the 7 golf courses, it's 192,932. All right, Tim, here's your slide. Equipment replacement summary. You can see on the left-hand side the location of the equipment, and then also on the right-hand side the year of the equipment that we're replacing. And in this case, for the equipment, we're looking at about average age of about 10 and a half years. Now you can see I did highlight that Rayco vac from Toro up there, 29 years old. So we got a lot of use out of that, a lot of mileage on that one. And then the same, oops, sorry about that. Summary on the vehicle replacement, same thing, 13.8 years average replacement. And I did note that dump truck, that Isuzu dump truck, 94, 30 years old. And then we have a Ford pickup truck that's 31 years old. So again, we're getting a lot of mileage, a lot of good use out of this equipment. So, and I can tell you that I know what the industry standard is for replacement useful life on all this equipment, and we're getting way beyond that. So we're doing a good job. And I do credit our mechanics and their preventative maintenance program. It's really solid, and that's why we're able to hold on to this equipment for longer than the expected life.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, on to landscape maintenance. As Carl mentioned, a roller for $15,034. This replaces an 18-year-old roller that we have currently, and that's used over at the lawn bowl greens. It is on a reserve study for replacement. And then this year we delayed the purchase of one unit, which was a Toro top dresser, and we pushed that out a couple years. And then we actually deleted 2 units, 2 dump trailers from the reserve study completely. And then on the utility carts, we have 2 of those. We have one heavy-duty utility cart, a Workman, replaces a 12-year-old Workman, and it does need a new motor. And the problem with this, with the age of that vehicle, you can't get the same motor, so we have to go out and find a different motor that's going to fit in that vehicle. So that causes the price to go up a little bit. And the same with the club car carryall, 12 years old, and it also needs a new motor. And we can't get the same motor that was originally in that unit. And both these units are listed on the reserve study. Rental cart replacement, this is in golf operations. We have 20 rental carts that are scheduled for replacement this upcoming year at a unit cost of $6,400 each. And then, again, these are listed on the reserve study, replacing average age of about 10 years plus. And it's very important to have a good rental fleet for our not only outside play, but our guest play as well that come in. And as you know, the outside play, that brings a lot of revenue into each year. So it's important to have a good, healthy fleet of rental carts for that program. All right, on to the irrigation and turf reduction project over at Echo Mesa. Proposed start date of April 7th of 2025. So we're about a year away from actually breaking ground on this project. But we are in phase 1. That was approved last year in the budget for $205,000. And you can see we've completed a lot of these items on there. A lot of the drawings, the mapping, the GPSing and all that. We had a pre-bid meeting just this week on Tuesday, and then the bid deadline is March 5th. So that's for the 3 players that are involved in the bidding process. They have until March 5th to submit their bids. And then field staking perimeters, which would be the turf line in the desert around the golf course, that's set for July and August of this summer. And then phase 2, the irrigation replacement. It replaces the original irrigation system, which is about 40 years old. We're looking at about a 12 to 15% increase this year from on the hard goods on the irrigation part over what we did over the cost that we had over at Grandview. We have a new distribution station or pump station for $280,000 in this phase. Installation of road crossing main lines, which we have 7 of those over there. So they tend to be kind of pricey, having to bore under all the roads over there. And then the transfer line connection, which we didn't have over at Grandview. which is very vital to the entire operation for all 7 golf courses to be able to transfer water from one golf course to the other. So we definitely need to have that connection on that line. And as far as the turf reduction, 18 acres are scheduled to be removed. As you know, over at Grandview, we removed a total of 45. So it's really scaled back. It's pretty much the same plan. We're going to use the same plants, same type of rock, same size rock and all that. So it's going to look very similar to what we did over at Grandview. It's just going to be scaled back quite a bit. And then as far as coming off the property lines behind homeowners, it's about 14-foot perimeter on average. And then also the street fronts and road crossings, again, what we did over at Grandview, it's going to have a variety of trees and plants in those areas. And this just shows some of the plants, or the number of plants that we'll be putting in. 2,000 plants are on the drawing board right now for Echo Mesa. At Grandview, we had over 6,700. And then the trees, we're looking at 60. And again, those are going to go on street fronts and road crossings, not on the property edge to block views of the homeowners. And we had 280 trees that went in with the Grandview project. All right, it's the proposed timeline that we put together, and just some areas I'd like to note. December of this year, we've scheduled a public forum similar to what we did over with the Grandview project. So we're planning on having 2 of those where the members can come in, they can look at the plans if they have any questions as it pertains to their view out of their backyard. And then we're going to have another one in February of 25. I don't have a date set for that yet. I should have that in the next couple weeks. Project start date, again, is Monday, April 7th, and we are going to start on the back 9. That's where the pump station is located. So when you're putting in the main line, you're coming right off of the pump station, and then you branch out onto the golf course from there. The entire golf course will be closed at this time. At Grandview, we had the front 9 open, back 9 closed, and we had the practice facilities, the putting green, the driving range. The golf lab was open, the restaurant, also the pro shop at that time. So for this project, we're just going to close the entire golf course, but we are going to start on the back 9. So we're looking at a completion date of Thursday, August 29th, and hopefully we don't have any weather delays as far as monsoon and that kind of stuff. So 29th of August, we'll complete. We'll go into overseeding after that on that last week of September with the first courses. And then we open the golf course on Tuesday, October 21st. And just real quick, put together a turf reduction long-range plan. Of course, we've completed Grandview, removing the 45 acres. And off to the right there, you can see the projected water savings of all the turf reduction. So when it's all said and done, when we finish up Pebblebrook in 2029, projected savings of about 305 acre-feet of water per year, which is pretty substantial. That's probably enough water to water a golf course of 90 acres. So that's a big savings. So with that, we're currently in the 4th management plan right now. So we did have a little bit of allotment reduction. And then in 2025, they roll out the 5th management plan, which is going to be further reductions. But I feel comfortable if we're doing all this and some of the other work that we're doing on the shorelines and other things, upgrades on the irrigation systems and new pump stations and all that, I feel comfortable with them even a 6th management plan. If that should happen down the road, I feel comfortable that we're going to be able to maintain or stay in our allotment, in our conservation allotment. So I feel really good about this going forward. And then summer closure projects, again, 5-year plan. We're closing Pebblebrook and Stardust this year. These are just in-house projects that we're going to be doing for the most part, funded through the operating budget. And then you can see the Echo Mesa project in 25, phase 2. 26, the Stardust irrigation project, and that's phase 1, like what we're currently doing with Echo Mesa right now. Stardust irrigation project, then we'll kick off in 2027, and then we'll do phase 1 of the irrigation project in 28. And in 2029, we'll go over to Pebblebrook and install the new irrigation system and remove some turf over there. And that concludes my capital budget report.
Okay. We have any questions for Todd on this? I just want to remind the chairs of the various committees that we are going to be pulling out if your committee recommends that we pull something out of the budget, we'll pull that out for additional discussion, okay? Okay,
We do have some more comments that have come in.
sure.
Jim Jones, 131340, would like to know if the very popular barbecue competition that was put on by the rec center prior to COVID is going to be coming back, and if not, why not? The next comment, Mystical Michelle Bruner, recommends that we do nothing with Kuntz until the community has input into what they may want to see in that space. Why throw $50K at something we don't know is needed? Jim Jones, 131340, what is going on with the heating and cooling of the indoor pool at Palm Ridge? And the last one, T. Meister, Mary Gannett, 133131, we should find a way to survey membership by SurveyMonkey or something similar on large projects, that they should be sent out via email so residents could sign up to receive them. That concludes them.
Okay. I think in the future, we're going to save comments that are off topic to the very end.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Does the audience have any questions or comments for either Carl or Todd on these last two presentations? Okay.
I do have one comment from the properties.
Okay. Okay. Director Williams.
Yesterday, the Properties Committee meeting was held, and it was a very animated 2+ hour session. And as required by the committee, the Properties Committee reached consensus to recommend that the governing board approve the fiscal year 24-25 capital budget projects as proposed, with the exception of the following: the $100K library expansion, renovation, design, architecture, and documents project, and the $50K Kuntz Tennis Facility renovation and court conversion to post-tension design, architecture, and documents project.
Okay, those will be pulled out, as will any from any of the other committees. All right, 4.04 is credit card transaction fee, CFO Cliff Swan.
Thank you, President Hurley. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Going to give a briefer summary of the last presentation here on credit cards. Encourage anyone, if they want to see a more drilled down version of this presentation, please look at the last governing board meeting that it was presented at. So just to give a quick overview of what we talked about regarding credit card fees. So the association pays roughly $600,000 a year in credit card fees. That continues to grow as members continue to pay with credit cards and as our fees go up, because it's a percentage of the revenue, so or the transaction. So right now it's about 2.9%, and it's roughly $620,000 a year, and you can see where these fees are being generated. Two main areas: golf and membership. So when we look at golf and membership, we did an analysis on that and looked at how we collect all of our payments, and you can see here how that's distributed. Overall membership, which includes golf cards, because golf cards are purchased there, is roughly 64% credit card, 35% check. Golf is 88% credit card and 11% cash. So overall, we collect 72% of our overall transactions with credit cards, and then other cash and check in 23 and 5%. So the important thing here is to point out the fact that we operate these areas differently. So the experience that a customer has when they come up at a point of sale is different in membership than it is in golf, and that's reflected on how they pay. So what do we get for credit card fees for that $620,000? We get a lot, and I want to point that out because some people say, I don't use a credit card fee. Why am I paying for that? Well, the association benefits greatly from credit cards. There is a benefit there, is what I'm trying to say. So we collect our payments much more efficiently. So if it's more efficient for the association to collect their money, if it's less risk for the association to collect their money, if it's more beneficial to process customers and have quicker transactions for better customer service, everybody benefits, regardless if you're paying with a credit card or not. So there is a benefit there for everyone. And these are, I can't, some of these items I can't put a dollar value on, and some of them I can, and I'll talk about that later on in the presentation. But there is a great benefit to being able to process payments with credit card. And one of the other benefits that I'll point out is that for the future, so being able to do things electronically on your phone and using applications and things like that, all conducive to electronic payments and credit cards. So we know that if people aren't paying via credit card and we charge a processing fee, and the natural reaction is for people to pay with other forms of payment. And those are checks and cash. So we know that there's going to be some side effects from that. It's going to cause us to be less efficient. We're going to have to hire more people. One of the biggest impacts to us is increased exposure. And there will be increased exposure for us in the amount of cash that we'll have on hand. So that's something we have to consider in this decision-making process. So we estimate $276,000 if we flat out said, okay, we're going to now charge a processing fee. We go through the development, the testing and everything, and we get it up and running. We know that we're going to have increased expenses. And I'll break this out in these two major areas coming on later on in the presentation. But increased headcount of 160,000. In golf, there would be an extra half an FTE per golf course to get those people processed more quickly, and we'd have to have 2 drawers and things like that going on. So we know that we would increase our cash. The assumption is that our cash would double in golf, so it would go from 11 to 22%, and I got some statistics to talk about why that would happen and why we're assuming that later on in the presentation. So with that assumption, we know that Armored Car Services would have to be employed, and that's $900 per month per location. And then the IT development, kind of touched on that, but that's a big deal. It would take quite a bit of time to get that rolled out, to get that developed with our software company. It's not that they're not capable or it's not capable of doing this. We are more than capable of making this happen. I just want to be clear, because of the complexity of what we do here and the different points of sale and the different things that we sell, it's very complicated. So it would take some resources to make that happen, which we could do if that were the case. So our current capabilities, we can collect processing fees for transactions for members only. We wouldn't be able to collect for tenants or associates or basically any type of point of sale transaction that isn't billed. So we don't have that capability. That's what would have to be developed. And then we just instated the ability, I touched on it earlier, with being able to pay online with eCheck, which is a savings for the association. So I encourage you all to use that if you're interested in saving the association in credit card processing fees. We all know, though, that you get points for doing that. So the credit card companies, the banks always win. So, but that would be a savings to the association if you chose that method of payment. So these are the types of special development that we would need in the different areas and the points of sale in our association. And it's, again, very complex. I won't bore you with the details other than to say that this would take time and resources to implement. And this would be off-cycle things that our technology company isn't currently working on. So it would be an additional cost, but it wouldn't happen right away. They would give us, we'd scope it out, and we would put together a timeline, and there'd be testing and all that. So it would be quite extensive. And if we decided to go this route, depending on how we rolled it out, it wouldn't be something that would happen in the near future. It'd probably take about a full year to implement. So potential savings, I talked about some of that $276,000 in additional costs associated with collecting different forms of payments. Well, we can't just take that off of we could just take it off of the $600,000 in credit card fees and go, well, there's our savings. So I've done that here, but I'll talk later. There's also an unknown impact, which we don't know what would happen. But in membership, the biggest opportunity for savings in membership would be there with a potential savings of $250,000. And golf, it's a different story. Because of the amount of cash, because of the amount of increased headcount, because of the armored car service that we would need at the 7 different locations, the savings it frankly just isn't there at $49,000, especially when you incorporate the unknown things, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So I did some research. Tim asked me, well, what are you basing your assumptions on? You should probably present something that, people can understand why you're taking your cash at your golf courses and doubling them from 11 to 22%. So took that advice. I get good advice all the time, especially from my wife. And took that advice and did some research. And this is just one piece of information that's out there. I've referenced it on the bottom, but there's plenty of resources out there to look and see what the impact of this has done to businesses, especially in the retail world. And this was retail impact. So this would speak to our food and beverage, our golf, bowling, things like that. Things that are not only available to our members, but also available to the public. And what they found was that 48% of people paying surcharges, they're not happy about it. They'll do it, but they're not happy about it. They've also found that 44% say they would switch merchants. So they may decide to go to Hillcrest and golf because they're not going to get charged a processing fee at Hillcrest or Sun City. So I can say those two because we've polled surrounding golf courses and no one is charging a processing fee. So that's a risk for us. It's a very big risk. And then, what's that? Yes, and I'll put a number to that at the end. But yes, it's a big risk, and I'll talk about that. But here's the other thing. This is why we're basing our assumption on the cash, because it says that 77% of consumers say they're going to switch payment to avoid that processing fee. They're going to switch to cash. And so we know people are going to switch to cash. And we've heard some people, polled some people, and they flat out said, yeah, I would just pay cash. So that's some statistics, and that's why we built those assumptions into our expense assumptions. So we talked a little bit about the unknown. So we know that there's hard costs associated with this in the form of IT development, in the form of increased headcount, armored car services. But there's some kind of unknowns out there, and they're kind of related to, customer experience, barriers to sale, and exposure. There's risks associated here that we don't really know what the impact of them would be. We know that our bad checks, if we collected more checks, that bad checks would go up, and we'd be chasing those down. Checks would bounce. People write checks on accounts that are closed. It just, it happens now. And we know that if that percentage of that payment type increased, that percentage of that would go up. Currently, we averaged over the last 2 years, $5,000 per year that we write off in bad debt. That's it. And we collect $23 million a year on transactions where people pay with checks and pay with credit card. We've written off $10,000 and $46 million in collections. It's unheard of. So we would put that at risk. We don't know how that would go up. Again, benefit to credit cards, which is a benefit to members. And then, we know that there's no golf courses out there around us charging a processing fee. We have $2 million in outside golf. If every one of those people paid with a credit card, it'd be $60,000 in credit card fees. We would put at risk $2 million in revenue to save $60,000. Just doesn't make sense. So in summary, and Bill's good at talking on this because he's been in government his whole career, but what do my dues support? You get a pamphlet that says, you pay for the electricity, you pay for the pools, you pay for all these things in the association, and that's what your dues go to support. And one of the items on that pamphlet is bank fees. So that's included with your dues. And we look at it operationally as a cost that's needed, but there's a tremendous benefit for it. And look, at the end of the day, it's a philosophical thing, Is that considered like a utility, or is that considered something else? We feel that it's a shared cost in the community. We know that 48% of consumers aren't happy paying credit card fees. That $2 million in outside golf, if we were decided to do that in golf, would be, we'd put that at risk. And it's a very complex issue. It can be done. I want to be clear about that. It can be done, but it's a very complex issue. We'd have to get into the policies and things like that. So, for example, in membership, if we decided to say, membership, we're going to charge processing fees in membership. Okay, if we decided to do that, well, people would naturally charge their owner member credit and pay their dues with their owner member credit. And they would charge it with their credit card because we have no ability to charge a processing fee for owner member credit. So we'd have to put a rule in that said you can't pay member dues with owner member credit. So that would be, so we would have to look at our policies and our procedures, and now we'd have to start creating more rules to try to close those little dog heads from coming through the fence that Riley talked about earlier. So we that would be something we'd have to do. Can be done, but we'd have to do that. And then finally, the biggest risk, in my opinion, and operations opinion, is the exposure with cash. We don't want to get, we just don't need that. We really don't. So that's all I have.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the directors for Cliff on this topic? Do we have any questions online about this
Tim,
topic?
this is Christine. Can you hear me?
Yes, Christine, go ahead.
I love the fact that you have to look to the heavens when I speak. No, just to kind of amplify, first of all, Cliff, thank you for the great presentation, sort of pulling all these different pieces together. We've all been talking about this. All our committees have been talking about this. There's a lot to consider. So thanks for trying to consider it and pull us together. One of the things Cliff was mentioning at the end, all the different, I don't know whether any other way to put it, like a loophole or, the need for some, if we did want to move forward on some pieces of this, there are lots of little things that we have to consider. I just wanted to sort of throw in there, if we start ahead of time, if it is something that we want to do, for example, to look at ways to incent our fellow owner members to use ACH e-check instead of credit card processing, we can go out and consider some ways to inform people. It may cost us a little money. We might have to do some mailings or in addition to putting articles in the paper and so forth, but educate our fellow owner members that this is something for all of our benefit, right? This is what we're all trying to do. And if we did, for example, want to add that processing fee for rec card fees or something like that, it would take education as well as communication and a different fee possible. Now that you guys have been so diligent and you worked on the e-check, that's been one of my favorite topics for a while, but it's there. Maybe that's something we could consider leveraging next year. For example, passing on just that $1 fee instead of the percentage fee or something like that. So you've given us a lot to think about. I just wanted to lob in a couple of comments about education and outreach, as we always do. We may need to factor that timing in as well as perhaps a little bit of communication dollars to get that information out to the rest of our residents.
Okay, thank you, Christine. We do have a comment on this topic from online.
Yes, we have two now. We have from Mary Gannett again on the fees. Education goes a long way. Limit rec fee payments to ACH debt checks. Encourage residents to put funds on their rec card via ACH debit cards, checks, and pay for golf that way. The second one has, again, from Mystical Michelle Bruner, 127597. How does the golf clubs handle cash that is coming in now? Are we currently using armed cars in the community? That's the end of them.
We're not going to comment on how we handle cash in the community. Okay. And any other questions from the governing board? Lisa, Director Vines?
Thank you, President Hurley. Cliff, if you would you let everybody know under your summary, if we were to put in the credit card fee, what it would do to the, possibly due to the outside golf rates as far as jeopardizing perhaps the risk of that $2 million revenue, because none currently, where Pat O'Hara did that great presentation at the golf committee meeting a few months ago, and he actually went out, he reached far and wide to about 100 golf courses surrounding us, and currently none of those golf courses are charging the fees like you said, and there is a big concern if we start tacking on that we may lose that, like you said. And
Yes, so
where that money is going to ultimately, if we start to lose any of that revenue, where will that come from?
yeah, so you know, the golf is and bowling. You know, we're able to subsidize our costs here with that revenue, and so you know we have to be very mindful of putting a barrier to a sale. It's one thing to say, well, it's not like you can go down the street and pay your member dues at Sun City, right? So whatever we put in place there's really not much of an option. So when people have options, they're going to make different choices. So we've got to be careful and very, very mindful when we're talking about those areas for sure. And I will say that at Sports Pavilion and at golf, both of those committees said, build it into the pricing and don't charge a separate fee. Which is what we've done, honestly, for the last, I don't know, however long we've been collecting credit cards, probably 20 plus years, or maybe more. So.
Okay, thank you. Director Rhodes, you have a comment?
I do. Budget and Finance Committee has struggled with this, and we have discussed this probably well over a year. And one of the things, and you pointed it out, Cliff, is one of the things that we want to do was to look for equity. That in member services is really a perfect example of that, where we can charge a credit card transaction for one group, but we can't for the other one. And we did, Budget and Finance did, and it was probably more out of an issue of frustrations, made a recommendation to assess credit card fees across the board. But I think the real issue behind that is the question that you referred to is a philosophical question. Do we really want to even assess a credit card fee? Can we or should we leave it as part of the cost of doing business? So we vacillated on this. I know I've made my mind up 3 times on it, and I am still probably not convinced either way, but I think there's a strong argument to be said that this should be part of a cost of doing business. So, but I also like the idea of the e-check and the credit balance, so.
Okay, thank you. Director Leary?
So we've been talking about this for a year or more. Are we done yet? Can we, can we make, I don't know if I can, I mean, as much as I like Cliff's presentations, I don't know if I can sit through another one.
It is Groundhog Day. Oh, that was last week,
That
sorry.
was last week.
After we get the audience comments, we're going to ask for consensus to move it and settle it at the general meeting. Director Vines.
Thank you, President Hurley. So Cliff, I think you kind of skirted all around what my question was and where I wanted you to go with that. And I don't think you kind of really went exactly where I wanted you to go, but where I was going with that was, if we lose any of that outside revenue from golf, then it's going to fall on our residents to make that up. And where we make that up is in dues. And I'm sure none of us wants to see our dues go up because we start charging credit card fees and we lose any of that outside revenue. So I think I'm with Jack. I thought we had this resolved a while back, and then it came and hit us like a ton of bricks again.
Okay.
So I'm.
All right, we're going to ask for resident comments now. Your name and rec number, please.
Bill Weaver, 124087. When I was in business, I learned early that there was a very high value to convenience. Convenience overrides almost all other aspects of your business, but not everything. Quality is another one. I mean, as long as we have quality golf courses and everything, that people will still attend here. And I think that you got to keep credit cards as a cost of doing business. If you want to do something with the others, offer a cash discount or an e-check discount. People like discounts. Then they don't feel like they're being penalized, and the rest of it is just a cost of doing business.
Okay, thank you. We should have a separate podium for people to sign in before they get to the microphone.
Gwen Rhodes, 125791.
Welcome.
Thank you. I clearly understand why golf wanted not to have credit card. I mean, it's cost of doing business. Budget and Finance looked at the fact that, that if it doesn't come from there, it comes from members. One of the things Cliff has been telling us, and I've been watching a lot of these meetings, currently, the only people we can charge if we do it, say, just in member services, which was one of the recommendations Budget and Finance was looking at. All we can charge are our owner members. Our associates, our tenants, our landlords would get a benefit that we as owners would not get. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. So currently, that wouldn't work. Possibly in the future, get the technology, spend the money on the technology, and get it in place for member services. Don't look at golf. There was a comment online, and we've heard it in the past, that just make it only available to use e-check for member services. I think that's wrong. I agree. Convenience, there's a lot of people. This year we did pay, for the first time in many, many years, we did not use a credit card to pay our fees because I thought it's a benefit to the community. And the 10 cents that I earned on $1,000 was not of a fee, or $1,100 of a fee, was not worth a lot to me. But I think we just need to realize that we have to have that convenience available for people. We have to. We can't force people to only pay with a check, because we're going to get a lot of bad checks. We're going to have a lot of late payments that are going to end up in there. It's just a part of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. In a radio business, they would call this dead air.
Hi, Lynn Kellis, 129120. I agree this is a really difficult subject, because spending $600,000 or $700,000 per year and coming out of members' pockets is difficult. So I know there's not an easy answer to it. I guess my thought again is just making e-check more available for our members, so that they could use that e-check and put as much money as they want on their cards. So that would be a lot less expensive for them to be going golfing or wherever they want to spend it. The other comment I would like to make is I know, I hear you and how much money that outside golfers bring into us, and it is critical. It's very important. But the fact that last year, in order to offset those charges, and that's fine, you raised the rates, but you also raised them for the members. So we're just double hurting our members. They're picking up the cost of the visa charges, plus they're picking up that other dollar increase for the outside golfers. My point is, if you're gonna raise it for the outside golfers and make it as painless as possible for our members via e-check. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Nick Turner, 131829. I agree with Director Leary and others that we've probably flogged this horse to death. I think, you know, are we going to, if we're charging people for using a credit card, I think as Director Leary said at a previous meeting, are we going to charge the people who pay by check for the check handling? Are we going to charge people who pay by cash for the armored car? And the answer to those questions is no. I think as a community and an administration, we need to work out how we get rid of cash. When is that appropriate? What's the timing for that? You know, is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? When are we going to get rid of it? And I mean, entire nations in Scandinavia are working out how they can get rid of cash. So that's, I think, where we need to be focusing our efforts on the technology we need to support going cashless. That will speed up transactions, that will reduce manpower, that will increase administration, that will lower banking fees. You know, there are trade-offs all over here. Let's think about the future and not think about something which looks like a large cost, but as Cliff has said, is a very great convenience.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
No. Bruce Lees, 135422. Good morning, President and Board. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to just throw my 2 cents in. I'm an advocate of either charging credit card fees across the board or absorbing them as the cost of doing business. We just need to get off the fence and decide one way or the other. One way we could do that possibly is to decide on a policy, but we could, with the upcoming elections, attach to the electronic election, probably a 2 or 3 question survey of the resident that they could elect to respond to as to what their feelings are, if we should be absorbing the cost of outside golf, or if we should have the preponderance to go to cashless society, ACH, debit, and things of this nature, and credit card, and basically eliminate the cash function altogether. We go to a major sporting event, it's all cashless, you know, you suck it up, and you either participate or you don't. It's really that simple. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Do I have consensus to move this to the general meeting for an up or down vote on credit card fees for the budget fiscal year 24-25?
Yes, please.
Yes. All right, we're gonna move this to the general meeting. 4.05, we're finally getting there. Guest fees, age waiver policy, General Manager Bill Schwinn.
We're talking a little bit about guest fees today. Based on our policy as it exists today, there is some language in there that is, I believe, lacking for us to make a solid decision on where we're going. As you know, the governing board's responsibilities are to set all fees as we put our budget together. This is the time of year where we assess that. So as we compile all of our numbers, anticipating what our annual dues are going to be, we also set fees when it comes to landlords, associate members, tenants, those types of things. And what we're talking about today are guest fees. And as we sit here today, we've got a system that basically allows Guests or a fee of anyone 18 years of age or older is a $4 under is $4, and anyone over 18 is a $6 fee. So that's what we're kind of dealing with today. There's been some public comment at some recent workshops looking for discounted rates for people to come in with their families and friends, and the feeling is that the $6 and $4 rates need to be looked at and potentially adjusted for discount. So where we sit currently, the policy basically talks about that's your guideline. If you're 18 or over, you pay one fee. If you're under 18, you pay a different fee. So that's the rule book, and that's what we've employed, and that's what we have in our fee schedule. But all guests, basically, as far as the rules go, need to be personally signed into our rec facilities. Guest credit may not be used to participate in club activities. Guests visiting the R.H. Johnson Library cannot check out materials. Anyone under 16 must always be accompanied by a responsible adult, and members or tenants hosting guests that's their responsibility regarding the actions of guests. So it's sizable, and so you can kind of see when people visit our campus here. So, and you can also see where they go. So really, the big ticket here is our swimming pools. And that is, anyone over 18, we get 21,000 guest visits over there. Under 17, about 7,000. And so we have a lot of people using our facilities, and you can see the time of year where they visit. Not a surprise. It's this time of year, right? So we don't really give discounted golf passes this time of year. I mean, this is where we try to capitalize on our revenue streams and that type of thing. Makes sense. But when it comes to bringing people in, there's been some kind of a plea to look at our guest fees and see where we're going. So when it comes to our pools and children in our swimming pools, we do have rules and procedures that we follow. So anyone under 16, again, always accompanied. And the 3 pools that we do allow guests and children in are stated there, and the times of day that they can use them. So it's really not a free-for-all. There's established rules and priorities as to what people are doing, and they abide by it very, very well. They're not allowed in spas, and basically you got to adhere to the times in the pools that we allow. So looking at some of other Del Webb communities, Sun City across the river basically have restrictions in pool hours. Their minimum age for a guest is 4. We do not have a minimum. So right now, our doors are open to any guests and all, from birth to 17. Again, one fee, over 18 is another. So 4 to 7 require an adult in the water with the child, and their guest fees are currently set at $2.50. Up the road on Bell Road, when you go to Sun City Festival, they have a $4 adult fee per day and $3 per children. They too limit no one under 4 years of age in their facilities, and they limit the children to a particular time of day and to one swimming pool. But also, again, all children must be supervised, children in diapers, that kind of thing, and anyone under the age of 4 are not permitted anywhere near the pool or a hot tub at any time. And currently, they have hot tub rules or spa rules of 12 years of age. So looking at other industries outside of recreation centers, if you want to take your child on an airplane, if they're under 2 or under, you do not need a ticket. Movie theaters, 3 and under are free. Theme parks, really 3 and under 3 and over need a valid admission. So 2 looks like the age of travel and that type of thing as far as admission goes for children. Locally, municipal swimming pools, City of Surprise will charge you if your child is 6 months. I don't know if they got an ID yet at 6 months, kind of takes that long to get one. But City of Peoria and City of Glendale under 2, there is no admission. And so us beating this up around our staff meeting and our tables kind of come up with the asterisk recommendations here on the staff side as far as discounts, perhaps, if the governing board wants to allow younger children into our facilities as guests. We're looking at maybe no fees for under 2. But again, fees are the responsibility of the governing board, and my presentation is over at this point.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments on the age that we should, or if we should even have a minimum age?
Yeah, I will. This
Director
actually,
Rhodes?
excuse me, thank you. This actually came up in the Budget and Finance Committee, and as Mr. Schwinn had said, that we were very pleased. We thought that the rules regarding guest passes were satisfactory and didn't really want to change any. And we did want to look at the age of the children coming in. I think the key thing that we were looking at is that we did not want to place the burden of responsibility on the monitor to serve as an arbiter of how old is that child. So we looked at anything from 6 down. So and what we'd wanted to do was leave it up to operations, but obviously that's not the right answer. So I would be very supportive of Mr. Schwinn's recommendation, but you know, I'd leave that open for discussion.
2 and under. Okay. Any other comments? Is 2 the valid number? I'm sorry, Director Leary?
Yes, I just want to make sure I understand that what was spoken and what it says on slide 9 for the staff recommendation. Spoken was 2, slide 9 says 3. Under 3. Is it 2 or 2? Yeah, so which one is it? Is it under 3 or is it under 2?
That's for us to decide. Director Vines.
Thank you, President Hurley. I'd like to see it be 3 and under, or free, not charged.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I agree
Director
with
Leary?
Lisa. 3.
Comments?
I concur with Lisa.
Okay, thank you. So do we have consensus to move this to the general meeting for a vote on this? The policy, excuse me, there's been some discussion among a couple of the board members that this policy doesn't really belong in facilities, that it belongs in membership. So I will write the language into the policy and present it at the general meeting for a vote. Director Vines.
No, he's Director Leary.
Hi, I'm Lisa. As long as you're doing, since this does not belong in a facilities policy, there's also number 4.9 of FAO 8 also does not belong.
Okay. I will 4.9, I'll look at that.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any? Yes. Three and under. Are there any comments from the audience on this? And do we have any online comments?
Lynn Kellis, 129, 120. Actually, my question is regarding that in a sense, but I noticed in the slides, we had the time of days at which pools were available for children. My understanding is at Palm Ridge, it's just the outside pool, or are they allowed in the inside pools too? I wonder if maybe we could make that a little more clear in the policies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Judy Thompson, 131313. Another consideration, the Beardsley Pool is open from 5 to 8 for families. That is the exact time that young kids have dinner and go to bed. I wish that that could be moved to the 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., but just a little bit earlier to help for families. And when my family comes, I spend $24 a day on fees. So that would be very helpful to have 3 and under, not have to pay for the fees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All right, we have consensus to move this. Okay.
I just, Jolene Paskowski, 132268. I want to say that Palm Ridge, sometimes the indoor pool is open only if the outdoor pool is not available because of weather. Just a FYI.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to director comments. I'm going to start down with Director Vines. Sure. No, that's an operational issue. Okay, Director Vines?
Thank you, President Hurley. So what I wanted to say was regarding the upcoming election in March. This year, it's quite nice. We have, at this date, I think 8 candidates, and that's probably the most we've had in many, many years. And what I'm hoping to see, and Tim and I have had this conversation, is in past years, we haven't had this many people. We haven't had enough people to even have an election, and people have just been seated on the board. And so it's nice to have people running. I'm happy to see enough people. I'm hoping that we have a clean election. I don't want to see people out there slandering people. I just run on your merits. I'm looking forward to the forums and hearing what people are running on, what your forum is. So that's what I have to say. And I'm really looking forward. I'm happy to see that we have so many candidates. And let's, just keep it clean, please.
All right, thank you. Director Leary?
I just want to say I agree with Director Vines. I hope we have a good, clean campaign. Thank you.
Okay, Director Williams?
Yes. We've had an interesting last few months, and I too want to encourage people to make the most of the opportunity of this election. I can't stress enough the importance of you attending the candidate forum. And if you can't do that, it will be on YouTube. But get to know your candidates. And I hope we have the largest turnout we've ever had, because we also, of course, have the other very important issue that was covered earlier that's up for vote on, that Riley talked about. But this is your opportunity. You have a choice. Make it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Director Rhodes?
I just want to, I guess, partially echo, but I want to congratulate all of the people that are running for the governing board. It's sometimes it's brave of you to step forward, and but this is an organization that's run by owners, members, but most of all, we're neighbors. We're neighbors and probably friends. So as you campaign and as you talk with the potential candidates, just remember that we are neighbors and we are friends and we're trying to self-govern. So good luck to all of the candidates.
All right, thank you. Director Schlemmer?
Thank you, President Hurley. I echo the comments. I won't repeat. Yesterday, the board had the opportunity to go and visit the first day of the latest torch session that kicked off. And I'm a huge fan, as my colleagues here as well are, of torch. And I just wanted to share that with you because it's always exciting to see a room full of, I think there's 48 attendees or something. But anyway, a whole room full of aspiring future leaders and volunteers in Sun City West. If you have any interest in learning more and more about this community and understanding really the inner workings of how this operation runs so smoothly every single day of the year, Torch is a great place to start. So if you haven't checked it out, I would encourage you to do so. If you have aspirations of governing board or anything, it is the absolute best foundation. Congratulations to the latest Academy attendees.
All right, Director Hammond.
Yes, thank you for you 8 candidates for getting up and running. I've been here in many elections and we didn't have enough to get on the board. So it's really nice to see everybody step up. Good luck in your campaign. That's it.
Okay. We have an online comment.
Yes, we have one more. I would ask why Mr. Hurley, Mr. Schwinn, and Mr. Rhodes did not give their rec card number. If they don't have to, if they don't have to, then why the residents shouldn't have to. All residents and staff should do the same.
Thank you for your comment. All right.
I don't live here.
It was from Mary Gannett, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Bill Weaver, 124087. One, at the very beginning, when you talked about Harry
Stand by.
has resigned, you said that the top getter of votes would replace him. Wouldn't that be a shortened term for the top getter rather than the fourth lowest?
No, the person that gets the most vote will take the remaining portion of his tenure for this year, and then they'll go ahead and start their own 3-year
Oh, and
term.
then, okay, all right, thank you. Then I have something, that I don't know if this has ever been discussed here or not, but Wired was wiring Sun City West, and they got to the expansion area, and they said that it's too tough. They can't put wires into that area because the ground is too solid and they've had trouble trenching. I don't know if they've gone to the board or anybody to ask for help on that, but I guess I'm inquiring because I had signed up for them because our only option really is Cox. CenturyLink has been full in that area for years, and so it would be valuable for us to be able to get connected. Now, I'm wondering if there's any problem with them trenching on the backsides of properties, like along Tom Ryan, which would be, on the backside, and because I think their biggest problem is trenching under all the driveways. And if it's super solid, and I'm also wondering about perhaps along the Deer Valley Golf Course on the backside. I'm just wondering, are those options, and did they ever contact anyone to see if,
No.
how they might resolve this issue?
We don't have anything to do with Wired. They've never contacted us. That's more of a question for the Maricopa County zoning people.
Okay. So
They could answer that. I'm not even going to try to guess what they would say, so.
Okay, but
There's
I'm just wondering what options I have available for me to just try and go out and see if there is help, going to Del Webb and looking at the original diagrams to see where the hard rock is and where it, is there anything out there that helps?
Not that I know of. Geological surveys or things like that?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Gwen Rhodes, 125791. This is in regards to Riley's presentation. I think this vote regarding parking is huge. And I can just see people that will vote no because no, I don't want anything to change. So my question, and it's probably to Tim, but on over to Bill, is there a way to put on all of our buildings and the neon board that's out here, the big yes on it, so that people understand what they're voting for? If you've driven through Marley Park or Countryside, no complaints to those communities, but you are weaving in and out of traffic all the time just to get into somebody's yard. And our most recent recall had 18,000 of our residents that didn't vote. So if we don't have a lot of people voting in this election, and I hope there will be because we do have 8 candidates, but if a lot of people don't vote, we could end up having a parking mess that we don't want just because the legislature has decided, no, we don't, we want to control, we don't want these communities to control things. So thank you.
Okay, Ms.
So,
O'Grady, did you hear that?
Yeah, can we get some kind of in place, and I don't mind being part of it.
Katie O'Grady
you,
is
Katie.
our General Services Manager.
Good question. We have done a lot of publicity, and we've worked with Pora. They are also doing publicity. We are getting hundreds of new registrations for voting, so people are educated. You want the ones that are educated to vote on this issue, because if they don't understand, they vote no. Obviously, it backfires. All we need is that quorum, 1,000 people, and the majority of those to vote in favor. Based on the feedback we're kind of hearing, the vast, vast majority are in favor of this. So we're pretty confident that they understand what the issue is.
Okay, great, thank you. Just keep advertising it.
Hi, Lynn Kellis, 129120. I just wanted to comment on, I think it's a great idea, and I love hearing all of you backing about having a positive election. I think that's great. We need to have a good attitude going forward and just keep that rolling. We can't control everything and everybody, and certainly the United States is a little bit crazy right now, but we can at least do our part in keeping positive here. Most of all, I wanted to say thank you for doing such a wonderful job. You guys have all been through a lot this year, and you've come through strong, and you're great leaders. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys do a great job. Okay, 132268. Question.
Name?
Oh, Jolene Piaskowski. I'm pretty sure you know me, Tim, but that's okay. This is about our Facebook page, and Katie probably will be answering this, but our Facebook page is public, I believe. And I'm just wondering why that is. Because we advertise all of our free events. We advertise all that stuff that we don't really want outsiders to come into. Most of all the clubs that have a Facebook page you have to be vetted to get into their page. So I'm just kind of curious, is the other communities all open Facebook pages? I mean, like the Grand, is their page open? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll ask Katie O'Grady.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious because it does give a lot of information about what we do. And so.
Good question. So when I started here way too many years ago, Sun City West was not on any of these national rankings. If you were in the East Coast, nobody heard about Sun City West. This was a very protracted effort to get our name out there, to open ourselves up to the wider community so people in the Midwest know who Sun City West is. Social media was a huge part of that. Getting the trademark name Sun City West from Pulte was huge. Changing our URL on our website from some random one because Pulte held all the URLs that had the community name. So we are now suncitywest.com. We were one of the first ones, if not the first senior communities to launch a Facebook page. It has always been open. It is one of our #1 marketing tools. And we're now #2 in these national rankings. People know who we are. So if we were to shut that down, given that we don't have a marketing budget for residential real estate, I just think that would start going in the opposite direction. People would know who we are, home sales would go down. So we vet the ticket sales and everything else. People know we're a membership community.
Okay, good answer. Thank you.
Hi, 128203. I brought this up before.
Your name, please?
Pardon? Name, Robert Ambrose? Good. That's me, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, I talked to you about this before. It has to do with the family of signing in family members at the rec center. You talk about burdens. People wanted to be able to continue to use credit cards to relieve themselves of other burdens. It's a big burden to have to come up and sign someone in. I've got a fairly large family, and they like to visit me. And each time they come, I have to come up and do that. And it would seem to me that we could come up with a way to take that burden away from the member, whether it be a photo ID. I'm not going to suggest any ways to do that right now. Someone could probably come up with something. But just a way to pre-authorize or do something that requires some kind of an ID or something that would relieve the member from having to come up here. I put quite a bit of money into my funds to pay for them. They come up. Even to the point where I've got a son that likes to come up and swim the first thing in the morning. And I don't want to get out of bed and come up here with him, okay? Now, I've tried to arrange that I can come up to the rec center the night before and sign him in, and that didn't fly either. So all I'm talking about here is just trying to come up with a more convenient method of signing people in that takes care of your concerns and also takes care of the member, the hardships that are posed upon a member. That's it.
Okay, we will look into that.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments We do have one online comment. Director Williams? Oh,
Yes, the most recent one is another one from Gary Bach, 135435. Says properties recommended Coonson Library not be included in budget. Mr. Hurley said those would be pulled out. Does that mean they are being removed from consideration in the budget?
no, it doesn't. Any project that's over $100,000, the board has to vote on individually. And what we usually do is do a consent vote where anything that everyone agrees should be in the budget is in the budget. And pullouts are items that come out of the budget to be discussed individually. They're still in the budget, but they will be discussed individually. Hope that answers your question. All right.
All right. My name's Casey Huda. I'm Recreation Manager. The question was asked about the barbecue earlier in the meeting. So I actually have our events planner here who can actually give you guys a little information of what she plans to do in the future. So I think I'm going to just give the floor to Sunny Marisol Ortiz. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. Thank you.
Hello. So I'm the special events planner, Marisol Ortiz, but a lot of folks know me as Sunny. So spoiler alert, I was hoping to just announce this at the torch presentation, but with a barbecue that happened a few years ago, similar to that, I'm looking forward to bringing in 2025 a food truck festival. I've heard a lot of good feedback with the food trucks being involved in some of the events, and they want to see more of that. So if that's what the residents want to see more of, I definitely look into that to bring more of that. So that's coming in 2025, along with Mexican wrestling, which is called Lucha Libre. I've heard a lot of good feedback with seeing something different at the park other than just concerts. So it'll be an all-day event pretty much at the park. That'll kick off, and then we'll have a show at the pavilion. So yeah, a lot of different things. So I'm looking forward to 2025, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sonny. Jello wrestling? Here's a stranger.
Not midgets. Hello.
Hello.
My name's Tom Jones. It's not unusual. 110390. And you notice there's some activity out front. What's new, pussycat? Whoa, 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 whoa.
I have completely lost control of this meeting.
Sonny, you got a new duo here. Yeah. Okay, so we do have raffle tickets left. At the car show, we'll be giving away a 2016 Mustang convertible, red. And so I have tickets that are $20 each or 6 for $100. This helps pay down our debt to the rec center. So it's an important item. The car show and the raffle are the two ways that we can have large chunks that we can pay down our debt. So hope to see you tomorrow. It's not going to rain. Okay?
All right.
I got one for you.
Oh, look at that. He can afford to buy two.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. We'll come to order again, please. At our next governing board workshop will be March 8th here in the lecture hall at 9 o'clock. Our next regular governing board meeting will be on February 22nd here in the lecture hall at 9 o'clock. Cardholder comments are always appreciated by the governing board. Cardholders can contact me at tim.hurley@SunCityWest. Spell it all out, please. And cardholders can meet me at during the office hours. I'll have office hours between 10 and 12 on Monday, March 8th. And you can make an appointment with Karen Repkin, 623-544-6115. And the governing board offices are in that end of the campus here. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 10:59.